Our last part of credit, we're going to look into how things can go a little bit sideways and some of the solutions when we get some holes dug financially that a little bit tough to get out of. First one we're going to talk about is debt consolidation. This is something you need to be very careful about. There are some nonprofits who are out there that are truly out there to help you. You've dug a hole pretty deep. You've got a lot of debt going on, credit card debt, car loans, home equity loans, student loans, whatever that is. You've had a life event that has made things challenging. A medical illness, you got a ton of medical bills, who knows what. But right now you're struggling to pay your bills. You're behind on your bills, whether that be your own fault and you've spent beyond your means, or you have had a very unfortunate incident financially happen to you. You will see some advertisements for companies that will say, hey, we're going to help you out. We'll take all of your debt. We'll roll it all into one easy monthly payment, and it's going to sound like it's a great solution. But be very careful. Some nonprofits that are actually out there to help you will do that. They'll work with you and your creditors. Help you negotiate maybe a lower interest rate, help you maybe get some grace period on some of your payments. But there are other companies out there that they're an actual business, and that's what they do. They're gonna buy up your debt and then charge you a very high interest rate and a significantly larger payment. And you're going to say, well, but if I add up all my little monthly payments, they're charging me less. Yes, the actual dollar value you're paying them is less, but that dollar value is an unsecured loan on a much larger balance because they're rolling together the student loan and the medical bills and the car loan and all of those other things into a substantial loan that's going to take a very long time for you to pay off. So it is an option out there. I honestly wouldn't say it's a viable option, but it is an option out there. But be very careful. Make sure you do your research and figure out who you're working with and how are they making money. Are they a nonprofit truly out there to help you, or are they a business looking to make money on, unfortunately, your misfortune? Second one comes up is co-signing a loan. What that means is you are not able to afford the loan on your own. The lender is going to say, well, you can't afford, we're not going to borrow you the money in the first place because we don't think you can handle it, or you haven't had credit long enough, or your income isn't enough, or your credit score is too low, whatever that is. If you go find somebody else to vouch for you, somebody else who will pick up your payments if you won't make your payments, will then give you the loan, is essentially what co-signing a loan is. Nothing good comes from co-signing a loan from the person who's being the co-signer. From the person who's borrowing the money, you're able to get the loan that you maybe couldn't. So you're in a good spot from the aspect of you're able to now get the car loan or get the mortgage. But from the person who says, oh, I will vouch for you, I will help you out, they get nothing. If you make every single payment on time with no issue, I don't get any benefit out of that. So if a student says, hey, Mr. Clem, come co-sign this car loan for me, and for whatever reason I say yes, which I should never say yes, but I say yes, and you make every single payment, every single one on time or even early, I get no benefit out of you making all of those payments on time. Nothing good happens to me. The only thing that happens is if you don't pay your bills, they then come back to me and say, hey, remember when you vouch for whoever this student is, you now have to handle their debt. You have to make their payments because they're not able to make their payments for you. You'll see this sometimes with parents and student loans and needing to co-sign the loan before they will give the loan to the student. Again, I would really think twice about whether co-signing a loan is something you should be doing. In my opinion, it is not. Now we look at what most people think of when debt goes a little bit sideways. We talk about bankruptcy. There's a bankruptcy court for each judicial district in the country, so there's about 90 of them total. The court has the decision-making power over all of the federal bankruptcy cases. The bankruptcy judge can decide whether you are eligible to file and if the debtor should receive a discharge of debts. We talk about an example. Excelsior Henderson was a company that was out there. They were making motorcycles, and I usually ask the question, how many you've heard of Excelsior Henderson? And not a lot of people have. And then we'll talk about, well, how many you've heard of Harley Davidson? And a lot of hands will go up and say, well, yeah, I know about Harley Davidson. Excelsior Henderson is a company, this is probably 10, 15 years ago now. They were a business, two guys down in Belle Plaine, Minnesota were going to start up a business, did start up a business to make motorcycles. You know, not dirt bikes, not crotch rockets, not like Bad Boy Custom, but more of a, you know, Harley Davidson style motorcycle. And they got their business up and running, and they looked and said, boy, there are a whole bunch of people wanting to buy these Harley Davidson motorcycles, and they're paying like 20 grand a piece to buy one. We should get into a business. We should go ahead and make motorcycles. We can make a run at this. So they go ahead and they get a big loan to get their company up and going. They have a state-of-the-art facility in Belle Plaine, Minnesota, production facility, and they get themselves up and going, and they open their doors. And as soon as they open their doors, nothing. And they're kind of sitting around scratching their heads going, where are all the people? Why are they not getting out of line waiting for their Harley to come buy our stuff? And their fatal flaw was the people who want to buy a Harley Davidson want a Harley Davidson. They don't want the Excelsior Henderson Raptor or a Cruiser. They don't want to save $2,000, $3,000. They want the Harley because they're very brand loyal. So Excelsior Henderson as a company struggles because, again, all businesses spend money first. They then hope to recoup their revenue on the back end. So Excelsior Henderson took out a loan, plunked on all this money, built a factory, bought a lot of parts, hired a bunch of employees, started making motorcycles. They opened their doors hoping they're going to be able to sell these motorcycles, get more revenue to buy more parts and keep the company running. But they don't have people coming in the doors like they thought they were to buy the motorcycles to get the company running. So they eventually go out of business, and they're going to file what's called bankruptcy. When we talk about the terms of bankruptcy, the debtor is the person who owes the money. When they talk about discharging of debts, they mean you no longer have to pay the remainder of the bill that you owe. So those are some terms dealing with bankruptcy. When we take a look at bankruptcy, who's all involved? The debtor, which presumably is you, possibly a lawyer who is going to represent you. There will be someone from the court, whether that be the bankruptcy judge or a court-appointed trustee. And there's going to be the people or the businesses that you owe money to. Those are called the creditors. You're the debtor. The creditors are the people that are owed money. And more often than not, probably lawyers who represent the creditors. The point of bankruptcy, the fundamental goal of the federal bankruptcy laws enacted by Congress is to give the debtors a financial fresh start from the burdensome debts. The Supreme Court made this point about the purpose of the law back in 1934. It says it gives the honest but unfortunate debtor a new opportunity in life and a clear field for future effort, unhampered by the pressure and discouragement of pre-existing debts. So you, for lack of a better term, throw your hands up in the air, say, I've dug too deep of a hole, I need help. If the bankruptcy court approves that help, you will then essentially be discharged or no longer have to pay those debts depending on the style of bankruptcy you file. But it's not just a guarantee. It's not a guarantee that, hey, I'm going to throw my hands up at any point in time and I'm automatically going to get bankruptcy. Someone has to make a decision on whether you're able to do that. In our next video, we'll take a look at our different types of bankruptcy.